so much for that warm welcome. So hi everyone, my name is Joelle and I'm a visual artist and designer working in the realm of live visuals and live performance, where my focus and my interest is in exploring the relationship between sound and form. And today I'm going to be sharing a little bit about my journey into the metaverse and how blockchain and NFTs ultimately led to my dreams coming true. So these days, this is what my office looks like a lot of the time. I work as a visual artist for an electronic musician and DJ, Richie Hawtin. And since October last year, I've been touring with him around the world, creating the visual element for his shows. So performing live visuals that are audio reactive and synchronized to the frequencies of his music. And this is something that's very exciting for me and something that I worked towards and dreamed of doing specifically with him for many years. And today I'm going to share a little bit how that relationship and that collaboration was actually powered by blockchain and metaverse. So when I minted my first NFT back in June 2020, I realized three things. That I had no idea how to price my art, that I didn't think that someone would actually want to collect my art, and I realized that actually I was not comfortable calling myself an artist. But now, having spent more than 2 years in the space, experimenting and learning and becoming a part of the community, I feel like I've gained more self-confidence as an artist, and I've also have a renewed sense of self-worth. This idea that my artworks could one day live on someone's wall in the real world or in the virtual world was just not something that was in the collective consciousness prior to NFTs. We now have a dialogue around how digital art has the same value as physical art, and not only that, we have a way to prove ownership of those artworks through blockchain technology. And since I've been minting and selling my art as NFTs, I've been given the opportunity to exhibit at various IRL exhibitions, which was just something that didn't happen before. Here I am with my series Serendipity, which was on display at Off Festival in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago. And earlier this year, I had a piece on exhibit during Frieze Week in LA, where the curator used projections to display the artworks, which meant no awkward frames or cables, and it really created this immersive experience when viewing these moving images at this scale. This exhibit also had a mirror in the metaverse, where we all gathered together for the closing meta party, and also for the final bidding as the auctions came to an end. Having more confidence means that naturally, you're more inclined and perhaps less shy to put your intentions out into the world. And I believe that for me, this has opened up the door to new collaborations across disciplines in a very fluid and organic way. In the past couple of months, I've been collaborating with a poet on spoken word video poems, where I use the frequencies of her voice to drive the audio reactivity and animation. And this collaboration was born out of a tweet that she replied to, where I simply said, I would love to collaborate with a poet and visualize her voice reciting a poem. So there's been this really interesting melding of visual art and poetry, where I can bring to life the written and the spoken word and work with vocal frequencies instead of electronic music. And this video poem, which was titled The Public, was on display at a music and art festival in Brussels just a couple of weeks ago. Along with another series of works that was also part of the NFT exhibition, all of which were displayed on these high-end LED screens in a forest, which is pretty cool. So these new collaborations have created new opportunities to sharing my work with an audience that probably wouldn't have known about it otherwise. So through metaverse and NFTs, I've gained confidence and I've discovered new collaborations. But building real human connection in these shared virtual spaces, such as Discord, which is an early metaverse, I believe was key to unlocking my dreams. I mentioned at the start I'm a visual artist for Richie Hawtin, and while I'm now touring with him, performing visuals at these massive parties, when we met, it was during an intense time of forced isolation during the second lockdown last year. And I connected with him and other members of his community on his Discord over our shared love of music, art, and technology. And during a time when we were all so physically disconnected from one another, we were able to connect through these shared experiences that we had had on the dance floor and through that collective ritual of music and dance. This relationship that started on Discord led to him collecting one of my NFTs, which then led to a moment in October last year where he asked if I wanted to do visuals for a show he was doing at the Warehouse Project in Manchester. This was obviously very exciting, but I also only had about a week to prepare, so I didn't have much time to create anything new. So I decided to use some of my NFTs for the show, specifically my Portal series on Super Rare. And because the artworks are synchronized to the frequencies and the compositions are real-time, I just needed to adjust the audio sync for it to work with techno frequencies. And it occurred to me that these giant LED screens are the perfect canvas to display my NFTs. And this is something I've been thinking a lot about lately, like how can I better use these opportunities to document and display my work in what is really an ideal canvas, especially for what I do. The next show we did together was for an event he curated for Prada in the Tanks at the Tate Modern. And this was a completely transcendent experience for me, to do a visual show with him in this iconic brutalist space that I had spent so much time in and had admired for so long. And there's also this really interesting idea of bridging digital art with the traditional art world in a very unique way by essentially having a rave inside an art museum, and through that connecting music, fashion, architecture, and design. And what's been pretty great about being able to share my work with such a wide variety of audiences at this scale is getting a sort of real-time feedback as to what resonates with people, as well as getting a sense of what an artwork might actually look like in future if you had an LED wall in your home. I can take a technique that I use to create some artworks, modify it for a show so it fits the concept and the aesthetic, test it during the sound and the AV check to see how it feels, and then perform the artwork live, and then possibly turn that back into a minted artwork. So there's quite a nice feedback loop between the exploration, the experimentation that I'm doing in my creative process, where I'm creating these artifacts that may become the seed of an artwork, but could also evolve into something that I use in a show. And sometimes a screen visual ends up as an NFT, and sometimes an NFT is modified to work as a screen visual. But because the animation and the effects are driven by frequencies, depending on that live audio input, the output can actually feel very different. Confidence, collaboration, and connection, these are three gifts that I believe the metaverse and NFTs have given me. And today, I'd like to encourage everyone here to be curious and to experiment with the technology, because the rewards are so much more than monetary. You can make new friends, connect with like minds, and discover new pathways and opportunities that can really empower you and maybe even lead to your dreams coming true. I'd like to end with a video from two shows we did a couple of weeks ago, which I think completely embody the atmosphere that we try to create through the synchronization of sound and visual. So this was Richie Hawtin at Luna Park, Buenos Aires, Argentina. Thank you.